box arrived on a Tuesday, plain brown cardboard with Daniel's handwriting scrawled across the label. Harold found it on the porch after his morning walk, carried it inside, and set it on the kitchen counter without much thought. Daniel sent something, he called to Carol, who was at the sink rinsing berries. Another coffee subscription? Carol didn't turn around. Their son's birthday gifts tended toward the practical. Flavored coffee, wool socks, a wrench set. Harold peeled the tape back. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was a small wooden box. He lifted the lid. A dozen hand-rolled chocolates, dusted with cocoa, arranged in neat rows. A card? Happy birthday, Dad. Hope these beat the store-bought stuff. Love, Daniel. He made chocolates, Harold said, bewildered. He picked one up, turned it over. Carol dried her hands and came over. Dark chocolate, something faintly floral underneath. That's nice. He never was much of a cook. Neither am I. Harold set the candy back. You know I don't eat sweet. You want these? I should. Carol patted her. Doctor said cut back. She paused. Megan and the kids are coming by tomorrow, aren't you? They'd love. Lily's always asking for. Harold did. He tucked the wooden box back into the closed the and left it by. Megan arrived Wednesday afternoon with Lily and she was picking up a casserole dish, staying for lemon. The kids ran straight for the backyard. Daniel could get? Carol asked, though she already. He'd been working late a lot lately. Or said, big project. Megan smiled tight. She took the glass Carol. He sends his. Harold appeared in the doorway, remembered the box. Hey, Daniel made these for day. I don't eat chocolate. You guys. Megan softened. Made these? That's expected. She opened the lid. They look beautiful. Lily. Noah! Harold called to the door. Grandpa, treat. The children materialized in seconds. Noah grabbed two before any stop him. Lily selected sea salt. Megan took it for herself, bit into it, and made a sound of. They're really good, she said. Tell Dan I'm impressed. Harold beamed. The box went home with them that evening. Thursday morning, Carol was at the kitchen table with her tea when Harold. He answered, listened, and said, Hey, buddy, got your package. Thanks, those were. He paused. Carol looked up. Harold was standing by the window, phone to his ear, expression shifting from confused. Well, I don't eat chocolate, you know that. I gave them and the kids. They loved them. No ild. Another pause, longer. Harold's hand to the back of his neck, a gesture Carol knew from forage. No? Carol set her tea down. She heard the other end. The silence. It has weight. Harold's voice dropped. What did I do? I gave them to your family. You said they were for my birthday. I don't. He stopped. His face had gone pale. Daniel Sloan. What are you? Whatever Daniel said, Harold sit down. Hard. The foot flipped an inch from his ear. Carol was on her feet. She was moving. Hey, what is it? He held up a hand. His eyes were point past the window. There's fence. Dad. Daniel came through the receiver, thin and shaking, audible even across the kitchen. You did what? Harold opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Carol crossed one from his hand. Daniel, this is your mother. What is going on? The line went dead. Carol tried calling Daniel back 3 times. It went straight to voicemail each time. She set the phone on the counter and looked at Harold, who was still sitting at the table, staring at his hands. Harold, talk to me. What did he say? Harold shook his head slowly. He was asking about the chocolates, where they were. I told him Megan took them. He sounded scared, Carol, really scared. Scared of what? It's chocolate. But even as she said it, Carol knew. She'd heard his voice through the receiver, that thin, shaking whisper. You did what? Not angry, terrified. Her phone buzzed. A text from Meg. Just wanted to say the chocolates were amazing. Daniel is secretly a pastry chef, apparently. Also gave a couple to little Jake next. His mom was so great. Carol read it twice. She showed it to Jake next. Harold. Before Carol could answer, the front door opened without. Daniel stood in the doorway, breathing hard, his shirt tucked, hair sticking up like he'd been running his hand through it. He'd driven across town in under 20 minutes. Where? Said. Not a. Daniel, what on earth? Carol. The Mom. Where are the rest? His eyes were wild, moving between her and Harold, like he expected one of them to pull the box from. Megan took them home. Harold's gently. Kids. I know Megan. Daniel's voice. He stepped inside, closed the door. Called her. She said she gave some to the. Jake. A 4-year. You let a 4 eat. He stopped, pressed his palms against his eyes. Carol's chest went tight. Daniel, what is in those chocolates? The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere outside, a lawn. Nothing, Daniel said. His voice was steady now, the way people sound when they've decided on a lie. It's in them. I used a new recipe, an experimental one. There's an ingredient, an extract, that some people have too. I was going to warn you. I was going to tell Dad before he ate any. I didn't think he'd give them away. Carol stared at him. She'd known this boy since when he was lying. He was lying now. What extract? He asked quietly. Something I ordered online, from a specialty place. It's not regulated. I should have tested it first. I'm an idiot. He ran a hand through his hair. I need to get the rest of chocolates, Mom, before anyone else eats any. I call Megan right now. Megan's at work, Carol said. If the kid's with a sitter, can call her. No, Daniel said it too fast. No, don't call her. I'll go over there. I'll pick up the kids and I'll handle it. I just need the box. He was already moving toward the door. Carol caught his arm. His sleeve was damp with sweat. Daniel, look at me. He did. For a second she saw it. Underneath the lie. Not fear of an allergic reaction, fear of being caught. If someone gets hurt, she said, you tell me right now. He pulled his arm free. Nobody's going to get hurt. I'm going to fix this. He left. The door clicked shut. Carol stood in the her heart hammering, and thought about 7 years old. 2 chocolates in 30 seconds. Jake, 4 years old, eating a stranger's recipe. Harold was on his feet now. He said it was just an extract. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's just... Harold. Carol's voice was flat. He drove here in 20 minutes. He wouldn't let me call Megan what the ingredient is. She picked her phone. I'm calling Rosa. Rosa answered on the second ring. Carol, you never call this early. Carol explained it in bursts. The chocolates, Daniel's voice on the phone, him showing up at the door, the lie about an extract. She didn't try to make it sound reasonable because it wasn't. Rosa was quiet for a moment. What kind of extract? He wouldn't say. That's the thing. He wouldn't say. Okay. Rosa's nurse voice kicked in. Calm, practical. Here's what you do. You call Megan. You ask her if anyone's been unusually sleepy, confused, slurred speech. If the kids are napping longer than normal. You don't mention Daniel. You just check in. I tried calling Megan. Daniel said he'd handle it. He wouldn't let me... Carol! Rosa's voice sharp. You call Megan, right? You don't ask Daniel for permission. Carol did. Megan picked up on the 4th ring, sounding Carol. Hi, sorry, I just got... Daniel's here, actually. He picked up the kids. In the background, Carol heard Daniel's voice, low and urgent. Megan said something, then came back. Everything's... He was just worried about the chocolates. Said the recipe might have some... He took the rest of the box to throw... Really? Megan, have the kid... They're fine. Noah's taking a nap, that's all. Listen, I have to go. Daniel's being really weird about this. I'll call you later, okay? The line... Carol stared. Daniel had gotten there. He'd taken... She sat down at the... Harold was hovering, wanting to help, not... She waved him off and thought, 3 months. That was how long Daniel had been working. She'd assumed his company had remote, the way... But last month she'd driven past his office park on her way to the dentist and seen his car in the driveway at 10 in the morning. She'd assumed he'd off. 2 months ago, he'd asked Harold $8,000, said it was a temporary cash flow issue. A client hadn't paid. Harold had given it to him without Carol. She'd found the transfer on... 3 weeks ago, Megan had called crying, then said it was nothing. Carol let it go. Carol picked up the phone and called the main line at Veridian Software, the company Daniel had worked at. She asked it. The receptionist... I'm sorry, there's no name. He was in engineering. Maybe he... Ma'am, we don't have an employee named Daniel Bennett. Directory. Carol's hand tightened around the phone. When did he leave? I'm not at liberty to... I'm his mother. He's been telling us he still works there. I know if he's okay. A pause. I can tell you he was let go months ago. I'm sorry, I more than that. Carol set the phone down very carefully, like it might break. 3 months. 3 months of lying. About his job. About the loan. About Megan. Glitz. Into the kitchen. Who was that? Daniel's company. Carol's voice sounded to her own ears. He would go. Harold's face something complicated. That can't... He's been lying to us, Harold. About everything. The kitchen was quiet. Above the stove ticked. Carol thought of $8,000. About Megan crying on the phone. About a box of handmade chocolates that her son wanted to retrieve. She stood up. Where are you? Harold asked. To Megan's house. Carol grabbed her keys. I'm not waiting to tell me what's going on. Out. She was halfway to the door when her phone buzzed. Megan's name on the screen. Answered. Megan? Megan's voice was small. Noah won't wake up. Carol made it to Megan's house in 11 minutes. The front door was open. Megan was on the floor in the living room, holding Noah in her lap, tapping his cheek. Lily stood in the corner crying quiet, scared tears. Daniel was on the phone, pacing, his back to them. I told you to call an ambulance, Carol said, dropping to her knees beside Megan. He's breathing, Megan said. His eyes are open, but he won't focus. He's like a doll. Noah's eyelids fluttered. His breathing was slow, too slow, shallow. Carol touched his face. Clammy. We're taking him. Now. Carol lifted Noah. He was 7, too big to carry easily, but she did it, and carried him to her car. Megan followed with Lily. Daniel hung up and came after them. Mom, wait, the paramedics are... We don't have time for paramedics. Carol strapped Noah into the back seat. Get in or don't, but I'm driving. The ER at St. Anthony's was 20 minutes away. Carol ran every red light she could. Megan held Noah's hand in the back and whispered his name over and over. Lily had stopped crying and was staring at her brother like she'd never seen him before. They took him back immediately. A nurse asked questions. What had he eaten? Any medications in the house? Had he fallen? Carol opened her mouth to say chocolate, but Daniel, who'd pulled up 5 minutes behind them, stepped forward. He's been tired lately, Daniel told the nurse. We've been going through a stressful time. I have a prescription for anxiety medication. He might have gotten into my bag. I should have been more careful. Carol stared at him. He said it smoothly, convincingly, with the right amount of self. The nurse nodded sympathetically. That's not what happened, Carol said. Her voice was too loud. People in the waiting room. He made sure. He put some. He sent them to our house and... Daniel's voice was gentle. That. We all are. Let the doctors work. He put a hand on her shoulder. Don't. Harold arrived then, breathless, and Daniel to him. They spoke quietly. Carol saw Harold glance at her way. He went to Daniel. Megan came out of the tree area, her flank. They're running tests. They said it looks like some kind of sedative. They're asking about the chocolates, Daniel. I told them about chocolates. Daniel's jaw tightened. Megan, I explained. You told them he got egg. Megan's... Your bag was a car, Daniel. Noah hasn't been in your car all day, but he ate 2 of those The silence that followed was the loudest thing ever heard. Daniel recovered first. Megan, I'm a lot of pressure. You know that. I made a mistake with the recipe. Told Mom this. I used an extract. Stop. Held up a hand. Looked at Carol. No. Carol told her everything. The phone call. Daniel showing up at their house. The lie about the extract. The company calling him fired. $8,000. Megan listened. Her face didn't change, but her hands were clenched so tight. When Carol finished, Daniel, you were 3 months ago. Question. Opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time, Carol saw the answer. A dog appeared in the doorway. Family of Noah Bennett, they all turned. His talk screen came back positive for alprazolam, a significant amount. We've stabilized him, but he's going to be here at least overnight. We tested this. The room was quiet. Megan looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at the floor. Harold looked at Carol, and for the first time, doubt in his eyes. Not doubt in her, but doubt in the... To speak to the doctor, Carol said. Alone. Daniel's head snapped up. Mom, alone. The doctor's name was Patel. She led Carol to a small consultation room with a desk and 2 chairs, closed the door, and listened without interrupting while Carol told her everything. The chocolates. Daniel's reaction, the lie about an extract, the way he'd raced to retrieve the box. When Carol finished, Dr. Patel sat back. You understand I can't prove any of this without the chocolates themselves. I know. He took them. He threw them out. The tox level in Noah's system is consistent with ingestion of crushed medication, not with a child handling a pill bottle and swallowing 1 tablet. That would be a much lower dose. Dr. Patel's pen tapped the desk. I'm required to report suspected child endangerment. But without evidence, it'll be your word against his. Then report it. I will. But I need to tell you, if he has a prescription and a plausible story, Child Protective Services may not remove the children. They'll investigate. Carol nodded. She felt hollow. She found Megan in the hallway, on the phone with the neighbor. Jake's mother, Tanya, was crying. Jake had been listless all afternoon, then started vomiting. Tanya was taking him to the ER now. Megan hung up. Her hand was shaking. He ate 2 chocolates. Tanya said I gave them. I gave them. Her voice broke on the last. Carol put an arm around her. That's not your... You had no way of... Megan pulled away. I need to go home. I need to get clothes for Noah. And I need to look at... Carol didn't ask what. She drove Megan to the house while Harold stayed at the hospital. The neighborhood was quiet. The kind of Thursday evening where people watered lawns and walked. Megan went straight to the office, a small room off the kitchen that Daniel locked. She jiggled. He changed the lock. Key? He keeps a spare. We've lived here 8 years, and he still thinks... Megan came back with the key a minute later. The office was a mess. Papers stacked on the desk, a laptop closed, a half-empty coffee mug with a... Megan started opening. I've been asking about mortgage, she said, looking up. He keeps... It's fine. The bank last week. He said... She found what she was looking for in a drawer. A folder. She opened it. Face went white. Carol looked. A life insurance policy. Megan's name as the insured. $750,000. The beneficiary, Bennett. Dated 2 months ago, underneath it. Statements. 3 cards all maxed. Total balance. $41,000. A foreclosure notice on the house 6 ago. Megan's on the floor. The papers spread around her like a bat. He was going to kill me, she said. It wasn't a question. It wasn't even shock. It was the sound of someone putting together the last piece of a puzzle she'd been avoiding for months. For the money. He was going for the money. Phone rang. Rosa. Carol. Just heard from Tanya. The neighbor? She's at St. Anthony's with her little boy. Same symptoms as Noah. I told her to mention the chocolates. Carol, if 2 kids got into this, it's not an accident. It's not a bad recipe. Someone put those in there on purpose. Carol closed her eyes. I know, Rosa. No, she opened them. Megan was still on the floor, staring at the insurance Megan. Carol's voice was steady. We need to call the police. And we need to before Daniel does. Megan looked up. Her eyes was clear. He's not at the hospital. Carol checked. Harold texted 5 minutes. Daniel left. Said he was going to get coffee. Didn't come back. No, Carol said. Not. Megan stood up. She picked the insurance policy off the floor and folded it, put it in her pocket. Let's go, she said, before he comes back here. The police were at the hospital when they got back. 2 uniformed officers and a woman in a blazer who introduced herself as Detective Reyes. Daniel was there too, sitting in a chair by the vending machines, his head in his hands. He looked up when they came in. His eyes were red. Thank God you're here, he said to Megan, moving toward her. I've been worried sick. Don't. Megan stepped back. Don't you dare! Detective Reyes held up a hand. Let's all sit down. I've spoken with Mr. Bennett. He tells me there's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Carol's voice rose. He poisoned Mrs. Bennett. Reyes's voice was even. I understand you're upset, but I need you to understand the situation as it stands. Your son has a valid prescription for alprazolam. He says his son got into his bag. There's no physical evidence of tampering. The chocolates are gone. I can't arrest someone on the basis of a family argument. A family argument? Megan stared at her. My son is in a hospital bed. My neighbor's son is in a hospital bed. And you're calling this... I'm calling it what it is until I have evidence. Reyes's expression didn't change. I'm not saying nothing and I'm saying I need proof. If you have proof, now is... Megan looked... Carol looked at Harold, who was standing by the window, not meeting anyone's eye. They had no proof. The chocolate... The insurance policy was ming, but Daniel could say it was a standard workplace. Except it was a private policy he'd taken out. But that took time to... Harold pulled Carol aside and... His voice... Carol, maybe we should think about this. The detective is right. We don't have any solid. If we push this wrong, we're not... He looked at her. What? Not of Daniel being guilty, but of Daniel being their son. If we destroy his life and we're wrong, we can't... Boy! He tried to kill his world. We don't. Carol stared at him. 40 years. 40 years of this man beside her, and in the moment that most, he was choosing the son who lied over the didn't. She walked away, her phone in her pocket. Daniel's name. She didn't answer. She did. His was quiet, reasonable. The voice he used when he wanted something. Listen to me. Megan she's been struggling. For a while now. She's been seeing a therapist. She's not stable. If she's saying these things, CPS is going to take the kids. You'll lose them. I'll lose them. Is that what you want? Carol said nothing. I'm son, he said. You're supposed to protect me. Her, there it was. The thing he'd been saying his whole life, words. Protect me. Cover for me. Look the other way. And she had. 38 years she had. Daniel, she said. You told the Noah got into your bag. You told me it was an extract in the recipe. Which one is it? Silence. And too quickly. Both. Extract interacted with. He'd made a mistake. He knew it. Carol knew it. Two different stories, both carefully constructed, both falling up. Someone compared them. I have to go, he said. Carol stood in the hospital hallway, the faint lights humming overhead, and thought 8 years. The lies she'd overlooked, the excuses she'd made, herself not to see. And called Rosa. I need a favor, Carol said. A big one. Daniel gets his Xanax at a pharmacy on Colfax. I need to know how many pills he's been prescribed, how often heals. Can you find out? Rosa was quiet for a beat. That's legal, Carol. I know. Then I can't help you with. Rosa paused. But I can tell you this. My niece works at pharmacy. She's a tech. And if someone were to leave a printout where she could see it, I can't make any promises. Carol closed. Thank you, she hung up. Down the hall, Harold was talking to Dan's close father and son. Carol watched them for a long moment and turned and walked the other way. She was done protecting him. Noah was moved out of ICU by Friday morning. Jake was stable too. Carol sat in the hospital cafeteria with cold coffee and waited for Rosa's call. It came at 9. My niece got the printout, Rosa said without preamble. Daniel Bennett, alprazolam 2 milligrams, prescribed once daily, but he's been refilling every 10 days for the last 3 months. That's 3 times the prescribed amount, Carol. He's been hoarding pills. Hundreds of them. Carol wrote it down. Can she get a copy? She already took a photo. Sent it to me. I'll forward it to you. But Carol, this is off the books. If it gets traced back to her, she loses her job. It won't. I promise. Megan met Carol at the house an hour later. Daniel hadn't come. His car was gone. Megan said he'd texted her at 2 in the morning. I'm staying at Dave's. We need to talk when things calm down. Dave's his friend from college, Megan said, unlocking the front door. He stays there when we... Or when he's hiding something. They went straight to the office. The laptop was still on the desk. Megan. The login screen appeared. Do you know his password? Megan typed L1 Leonie 2016, the desktop and his kids' names and the year we got married. Megan said, Lee. He's never been... The browser history was the first place. Daniel had it. Maybe he thought he'd... Maybe he never imagined his wife would be sitting at desk, reading him. The list made Carol stun. Xanax and food. How much Xanax lethal? Accidental overdose alcohol Xanax. Life insurance contestable period. Does life insurance pay for accidental overdose? Chocolate ganache recipe no bake. Can you taste Xanax? Megan's hand with her mouth. She clicked on the search. A recipe site. In the comments, Daniel had typed a note to himself. Double the batch. Add the special ingredient before cooling. Don't let Megan see. Oh my God, Megan whispered. They found more. An email thread with an insurance agent dated 2 months ago. Daniel asking about the contestability period on a new policy. The agent explaining that after 2 years, the company couldn't deny a claim for any reason. Daniel had taken out the policy 2 months and 1 day before they arrived. A draft email never sent. I know I haven't been the husband. I want to love you. The kids of you. Min read it twice. It was the laptop. He wrote my eulogy, she said. Her voice was steady, terrifyingly steady. Before dead. Carol pulled out her phone and drafted everything. The search history, the email, the draft, the pharmacy Rosa had sent. She emailed it all to herself and to Detective Reyes. Then they heard it. They were in the driveway. Out the window. Daniel's car. He was getting out, moving set. Wasn't supposed to be here, Megan said. He said he was at Dave's. Did he track your phone? Carol asked. His eyes went wide. She pulled out her phone. Sure enough. A location sharing app, enabled, forgotten about. Daniel could exactly where she was. Come on. Carol grabbed Megan's arm. We have what we... They went out the back door, through the gate, to Carol's car parked at the curb. Daniel was already at the fumbling with his key. He heard the gates. He turned. His met across the yard. For nobody moved. Then Daniel started running. Carol turned the key. The engine caught. She pulled away from the curb just as Daniel reached the sidewalk, thing she couldn't hear. In the rearview mirror, she watched him get smaller and smaller, still alone. Megan was breathing hard. He knows we have... Good, Carol said. Let him know. Detective Reyes read the search history twice. Then she read the email. Then she looked at the pharmacy printout. I'm getting a warrant, she said, for his arrest and for the laptop. You did the right thing coming in. Megan didn't look relieved. She looked exhausted. What about the kids? Protective order goes in today. He can't come within 500 feet of you or the children. If he violates it, he goes to jail. They left the station at noon. Carol drove Megan back to the hospital to see Noah. The kids were going to stay with Carol and Harold until Megan could figure out the next step. Harold wasn't home when they got there. His car was gone. There was a note on the counter. Daniel called. He wanted to talk. I went to meet. Be back soon. Carol's blood went cold. He went to meet Daniel. Megan read the note. I don't. Carol called Harold. No answer. She called him. Voice. They found him an hour later at the diner on Colfax, sitting in a booth with 2 cups of coffee, untouched. Daniel was talking quietly, intent. Harold was. Carol Walker. Harold, we need to go. Daniel up. His face was calm, almost gentle. Mom, I'm glad here. I was just telling Dad. The truth? Megan has been on antidepressants for 2 years. She didn't tell you, did she? She's been seeing a therapist. Daniel's voice was soft, reasonable. She found out about the mums. Angry. She planted those searches on my laptop. She's been planning this. Harold. Is that true? Megan on antidepressants? Carol stared at her husband. Even if it is Harold, the insurance policy, the pharmacy records, the draft email, he wrote her a eulogy. People write things they don't mean, Harold said. But as Verton. Dan leaned forward. Mom made mistakes. Lost my job. Got in over my head. But I hurt my wife. I would never hurt my kids. You know that. You raised me better than that. There it was again. You raised me. The old in his arsenal. Carol down across from him. Daniel, the chocolates. You told the hospital Noah got into your bag. You told me it was an extract. You told Megan you were worried about the recipe. 3 different stories. And every lie. Daniel didn't falter. It flickered. I know what you're doing, Carol said. You're going to file for custody. You're going to say Megan is unfit. You're going to drag this through court for years because you can't afford a lawyer. She paused. But I can't. The table went quiet. Harold looked at her. Daniel looked at her. I'm going to pay for Megan's attorney, Carol said. Every penny. I'm going to use the retirement. And you, Daniel. You're going to sit in a jail cell and bid to those children. His face changed. The calm cracked. For a second, I saw the real thing underneath. Pure and simple. You're choosing, he said. I'm choosing, Carol said. For the first time choosing the truth, Daniel stood up. The coffee cup rattled. You'll regret this. Both of you, he walked out. Harold watched him go, then turned to Carol. His face gray. I'm sorry, he said. I wanted to believe him. Carol didn't say it was okay. It wasn't okay, but she sat down his. Detective Reyes getting a warrant, she said. Over. Harold nodded. But his eyes were gray, and Carol knew it wasn't almost over. It was just beginning. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think this ends with an arrest? Talk to my lawyer. Don't talk to me, Daniel. His card. He wasn't going to run. He was going to fight, and he was going to make them all bleed. They arrested Daniel at Dave's house at 6 o'clock on Friday evening. No struggle, no drama. He came to the door in sweatpants, saw the uniforms, and held out his wrists without a word. Detective Reyes called Harold from the parking lot. He's asking for you. Says he'll talk, but only to you. Not a lawyer. Not me. You. Harold looked at Carol. The kitchen light made him look older than his 68 years. Do you want me to come? Carol asked. He nodded. They drove to the station in silence. The interview room was small, cinder block, a metal table bolted to the floor. Daniel sat on one side, handcuffs looped through a ring on the tabletop. He looked up when they came in. His eyes were red, his face stubbled. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like a man who hadn't slept. Dad, he said. Mom, Harold sat down across from him. Carol stood by the door. I'll tell you everything, Daniel said. His voice was flat, rehearsed, like he'd been practicing in the car. But not to them. To Harold said, I lost my job in May, 3 months ago. They downsized the engineering team. I didn't tell anyone. Every morning I got dressed, drove to the office park, sat in my car for 8 hours, and came home like nothing happened. He laughed, a dry, ugly sound. I got really good at pretending. The money ran out. Severance was nothing. Credit cards. Then the mortgage. I was 2 months behind. The bank sent notice. I didn't tell Megan. She'd been on me about the budget here. I couldn't tell her I'd destroyed. He looked. I took out the insurance policy. $750,000. I checked. After 2 years, they buy it. I figured if it looked like an accident, they'd pay. The house paid off. The kids would be okay. Start over. Chocolates, Harold said. His voice was audible. I crushed the pills, 2 milligrams each, about 30 of them. Mixed them into the ganache. I sent them to your house because I knew you wouldn't eat them. I was going to come over Saturday, take the box home, and tell Megan they were a giver. Them that night. She always before bed. The combination. Accident. An overdose. He stopped. Followed. I never meant for the kids. Never meant for Jake. A troll. I thought I'd be on giving them out. And then you... He looked at Harold. And for us it's real. You gave them away. You gave them to my children. The room was quiet. On the wall ticked. Somewhere down a door slammed. Harold's hands. His shoulders shook. He didn't make a sound. Why didn't you come to me? Voice was muffled. I would have helped it out. Because you told me to souse. Daniel's voice cracked. You'd have told me job at Home Depot. You'd have looked a failure. And I couldn't be that person. Not in your eyes. Not in her. Carol stepped forward. She'd been sitting by the door, listening, feeling like she was watching strangers. But they weren't strangers. They were her family. Daniel, she said, Noah is 7 years old. He spent 2 days in the hospital because of you. Jake, he could have died. Daniel rolled his eyes. I know. You kids might eat those chocolates. You knew Harold might give them to me. You did anyway. I know. Carol looked at Harold. He had head in his hands. About 38 years of this. The excuses, the looking away. She thought about the ring she'd promised Megan. She thought about Noah's in the hospital. Detective said, opening the door. He's ready to make a statement. On the record. Daniel's eyes flew open. Mom, no more lies protecting you. She looked, and her voice was steady, even though her heart... This ends today. Reyes came in with a recorder. Daniel looked at Harold one last time. Harold didn't look up. Then Daniel started talking, and the recorder captured every word. 3 weeks later, a package arrived on the porch. Harold saw it from the kitchen window and froze. His hand went to the counter, steadying himself. Carol, who was loading the dishwasher, saw his face and knew immediately. It's probably just the Amazon thing I ordered, she said. But she didn't believe it either. Not fully. Harold went to the door, opened it, and brought the box inside. It was from a vitamin company, Carol's fish oil. He set it on the counter and exhaled, long and slow. Neither of them said what they were thinking. They didn't have to. Noah and Jake were both fine. Physically, anyway. Noah was back in school, though he tired more easily now, and the pediatrician said to watch for sleep disturbances. Jake's mother, Tanya, had stopped speaking to Megan. Not out of anger exactly, but out of a kind of exhausted grief that didn't have a place to land. Megan understood. She would have done the same. Megan was living in the spare bedroom now, with Lily and Noah on an air mattress on the floor. The house on Elm Street was in pre-foreclosure. The bank had given them 90 days. Megan had called her old broker and asked if she could come back part-time. He'd said yes. She had her first showing on Tuesday. She was filing for divorce. The lawyer Carol was paying for had filed the paperwork the previous month. Daniel was being held without bond at the Jefferson County Detention Center, charged with 2 counts of attempted murder and child endangerment. He'd confessed on tape, but his public defender had entered a not guilty plea, and that was how the system worked. Carol had visited him a week after the arrest. The visiting room was linoleum and fluorescent light, a wall of reinforced glass between them. He'd picked up the phone and said, Mom? She'd gone. She hadn't known what to say. I'm sorry, he'd said. I'm sorry. She really looked, for the first time in years, without the filter of motherhood softening the hair. His hands were shaking. He looked like a boy who'd gotten lost and couldn't find his way. No, she'd said. And then, because it needed... Sorry doesn't fit Daniel. It doesn't Noah. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. I'm still your mother. That does go away. But I can't, I won't, pretend. The phone hit. When the time, he'd stood up and walked away with... Carol had sat there for a minute and left, staring at the empty chair on the other side of the... This is what telling the costs had gone. He said he couldn't. Carol didn't push. Some morning she found him sitting at the kitchen table before dawn, sitting at the wall. Wait. Talk much. But he'd started helping Megan with the kids, driving Lily to school, making Noah earning. And that, Carol thought, was the retirement. The lawyer's retainer was $15,000. Carol had money around, canceled the cruise they'd for next spring, tried not to think of hers. It was only money. She gave herself that. On a Saturday in late September, weather turned. The air got that crisp edge that means all in Colorado. Carol was on the porch with a cup of tea, watching Lily and Noah chase each other in the yard. Noah laughed, a real laugh, the kind of weeks. And Carol felt something. Megan came beside her. She was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, and a ponytail. She looked tired, but an email from the broker, Megan said. Another Thursday. Good, Carol. Megan paused. I don't say it enough. Thank you for all of this, for choosing. Don't. Carol held up a hand. I'm not a hero. I spent 38 years not in front of me. The least I see it when it mattered. Megan was quiet for a minute. Then she said, that's not nothing. A lot of people wouldn't have. Carol didn't answer. She watched little Noah into the grass, both of them screaming with laughter. Somewhere on the street, a dog barked. The sun was going down, painting pink and orange. About a Tuesday in August. A brown cardboard box on the porch. A husband who didn't eat chocolate. A son who made something terrible and called it love. She thought about how one small, ordinary choice, giving away a box of candy, ruled everything. And she thought how, even now, even after all of it, kept turning. The kids laughed. The mountains changed color. Tomorrow would come, and the day after that. She took a sip of tea. Cold. She didn't mind. Come on, she said, snap. Let's go inside. I'm making spaghetti. Megan followed her in. The kids came last, grass-stained and breathless, and Harold was already at the stove, without being asked. The kitchen was warm and loud and ordinary, and for the first time in a long time, Carol let herself breathe.